Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Energy Speaks Back, powered by B2B Energy. My name is Paul Webb, and I'm the founder of B2B Energy, and I'm your host. And weekly, I present to you energy experts from around the world. Welcome to episode 147. Our purpose, as always, is to provide a good understanding of energy management knowledge from around the world, which is available today for us to deliver savings that impact on our planet. Welcome, energy enthusiasts, to another enlightening episode of Energy Speaks Back. Today's guest is an IoT and an artificial intelligence expert from Denmark. He's also the author of CO2 on My Mind. So without any further ado, let's dive into the conversation with Daniel Lux. Good afternoon, Daniel. How are you today?
I'm good, Paul, and thanks for having me here. Very honored to be speaking on your nice webinar. So,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And we have met. We met on a webinar for Africa recently, and we seem to be saying the same sort of things. We're on the same page, aren't we, regarding our belief?
Yes, I agree. I seldomly meet people who are so much on the same page as me. I think you're more in the consulting business, consulting about energy efficiency, where we have an Internet of Things platform that provides a solution to energy efficiency. But I think we can both agree on that the cleanest energy and cheapest energy is the one we don't waste.
Exactly. And that's exactly why I wanted to bring you in today. So I'm really excited about today's conversation. So for the benefit of our audience, obviously I know some background about yourself and we have been talking offline. Could you tell us about your background story and your origin story?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Daniel Lux. Maybe you can hear it. I'm actually a German national who studied artificial intelligence in the 90s in the Netherlands in Dutch.
Wow.
And now I live since 2000 in Denmark and have a Danish wife and speak Danish as well. So I've always been really worried about climate change. And in 2006, me and the other co-founder, we actually founded our company with the aim of energy efficiency. One of our first products was a plug that could detect standby consumption, and then it would switch it off once you entered the standby consumption. 2006 was too early. It was too early for Internet of Things. Mm-hmm. We needed the iPhone, which luckily Steve Jobs was so friendly to invent. And the prices were simply too low and not enough fluctuation. Yeah. So in the meantime, we were working on basically an Internet of Things solution to collect data. We've always thought that real-time data is of the essence. You need to know, do I now produce too much electricity or not? Am I selling to the grid or not? For that, you need real-time data because you want to use your own data, right? So we work with metering manufacturers to make communication modules. And yeah, since 2022, we basically started focusing more on the energy efficiency because prices were in the rise. There's actually an interesting study, a German study, which is about 12, 13 years old, that said that once the renewables hit about 30% of the energy production, they will have such a big influence on the electricity price that they will dictate the price. And the unfortunate thing about that is when you have, let's say you have a lot of solar, right? Over large areas, the sun will shine and it will lower the price so much that your return on investment, unfortunately, will evaporate. Yeah. So there's this direct connection. And we are now hitting this. So what maybe your listeners or viewers don't know is that in Denmark, we have a full rollout, very much like in the UK, I think. And we have every consumer, even households, they have dynamic tariffs. So you basically pay hourly tariffs, right? So the price is really fluctuating.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we have now also dynamic transport tariffs. That means sometimes the transport is more expensive than others. And this is so complex that consumers cannot understand their energy bills anymore.
Yeah.
And they also do not have any tools to react on this price signal. We've got a plug actually where this thing, it's RGB diodes. We've made a small program for that plug, so you can see when it's the 8 cheapest hours, it's green. When it's the 8 medium hours, it's yellow, and the 8 most expensive hours that days, it's red. And then you can also say, I don't want it to switch on when it's red. So you avoid the most expensive hours.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Can I
So,
just go back a little bit? You mentioned
yes,
AI. When was you first studying AI?
in the 90s.
Really?
Yeah, I was too early on the AI. When I did my master's, we studied number plate recognition. So what we had was a 16 times 16 pixel black and white image. That was still too big. So what we did was we counted the number of black pixels on each line and on each column, right? And those 32, those were then put into our neural net, had to train like 2 weeks or something. It took amazing long time. And then we could recognize the letters and numbers.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing because obviously AI is starting to really raise its
yeah,
head now, isn't it? And
yes,
what we're doing, with even with the likes of Chat GPT, you type
yes.
information in it. I wonder how long it would take to learn that numbering now. Probably very quick. Do you think?
Oh, it would be instant. You would
Yeah.
start and it would be done.
Yeah.
What I actually did in my studies, and which is still not so much seen, is so a neural network is something you call a classifier, right? It says these are peas and these are beans, and it will say it will divide them into those two classes, peas and beans, right?
Yeah.
So in our case, it was letters, and there was a problem between H and N. And then what I did was I generated pictures, and then I was looking for generated pictures which were on the border between H and N, where this neural network said it's both an H and an N. And then I used my own eyes and mind to see, is this an H or is this an N? And if I said this is clearly an H, then I would put that picture into my training set and thereby move the border between these two classes and then improve the quality. And then once I hit a picture where I said, yes, this, I don't know if this is an H or an N, a large H and large N, right? Then it's fair. Then the border was actually at the right place. So, I mean, in a way, making it more clear where the border between these classifications goes. Now, the large language models and the generative AI, they work slightly different. So, but they still take years to train. So,
yeah. I'm interested to know. Obviously, you was there in university learning AI and working on, number plate recognition as such. There's some steps that have been taken to get you into energy and the climate change. Where's the draw on climate change for you there?
I think it's my upbringing. So my mother, she was very worried about the environment and climate. So I remember I think it was in the 80s, there was a big demonstration against nuclear. Now, I mean, I think the view has changed in the meantime, but there was this long line of people in Germany that were demonstrating against nuclear power, and she took me there. So then one of the first customers we had in our new company in Luxet was a person who was very obsessed with CO2 measurements for indoor air quality. And then CO2, I didn't know so much about CO2. I knew it had something to do with the climate, but I didn't know much. And then I was wondering, how can it be that 0.1%, 1 per mil in the air has an impact on the human body? Why is this, right? So
Mm-hmm.
started to dig into it, and there's no satisfying explanation, which is actually why I wrote a book
Oh, right.
about
Atmosphere.
atmosphere. It's called Atmosphere CO2 on My Mind, and it's about the impact of CO2 on the human body. And so what people don't realize is CO2 kind of regulates the oxygen transport in our system. So you know that the oceans are acidifying, right? So the same thing happens inside of our body. So when the CO2 rises, we are more or less acidifying inside our blood. So the CO2 lowers the pH value. What most people don't realize is that there was the father of Niels Bohr, Christian Bohr. He came up with something called the Bohr effect. And because when we breathe in blood, the red blood cells, they have a great affinity towards oxygen. So they take it in and transport it. But you need a release mechanism for the oxygen, right? This release mechanism is the pH of the surrounding blood. That means when you're working hard in your muscles, you generate the acid, a lot of CO2, right? So then the affinity changes. So it releases the oxygen where it's needed, and it takes in the CO2,
Right.
and thus transporting it back to the lungs to be exhaled. So, but what happens if we're surrounded by a lot of CO2? That means the overall acidity changes and the oxygen transport in our body decreases, the efficiency decreases. So now, Paul, where do you use most of your energy in your body?
Where I would presume around all my organs
No, it's
and
your brain.
ah,
Your
yeah,
brain. Your brain uses 25 to 30% of the energy.
right.
What do you think happens when the transport system is less functional?
Yeah, you
You
start to
get
slow down.
tired, you
Yeah,
start to slow down, you get more dumb. So that's the really central piece in my book, that
brilliant.
the CO2 has a direct impact on our body and no one talks about it.
Yeah,
Osteoporosis, the brittle bone disease, that happens because our bones are mostly calcium. So calcium and acid dissolves the calcium,
yeah.
thus weakening the bones. So one of the chapters I'm writing, you know, the astronauts, right? According to your picture behind you, must be an
Yeah,
astronaut fan.
I love astronauts. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know that astronauts get weak bones, right?
Yeah.
And they say it's because of the lack of the gravitation up in the space station. Now, there are actually research papers who do research on people in submarines, which have the same atmosphere as the space station, very high amounts of CO2.
Hmm.
We are talking about 2,000 parts per million to 5,000. So really high, that's 0.2 to 0.5%, still a low percentage. And you know what? They have exactly the same symptoms as the people on the space station. But last time I checked in a submarine, there was a very good gravitational field going on in the submarine. So it's sometimes these connections, why are they not made? I'm
Yeah.
flabbergasted that people don't see it.
Do you know you've just opened another world up for me because
Okay.
I'm thinking climate change. I'm thinking, we need to do this to stop weather from changing. We need to do this to save our planet. But hold on a minute. What you're saying, we need to do this to save ourselves because,
And our children.
yeah,
Yes.
because we're
Yes.
actually causing damage to ourselves by this.
Yes.
Yes, we
Yes.
need carbon dioxide because everything needs
Yes.
carbon dioxide, trees, plants, etc. But
Needs
there's a
to be in
limit.
balance.
Yeah, about it's like everything in life, isn't it? everything in
Yes.
moderation.
Yes.
That's very
Yes.
interesting.
Exactly.
You've opened my mind regarding that. And where can we get that book? Can we see that book on Amazon or anything?
Yeah. Should I post? I can send you a link
Yeah,
to
send me a link and
Amazon.
I'll make sure that everyone can see that link. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
when you started getting into this and you was looking at, obviously it's a double-edged sword now regarding your products and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that?
You're right. Yes. Because I mean, in a way, you need more tech, you need more electronics, you need additional energy for the platform to actually save it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you need to see overall energy efficiency makes more economical sense. I mean, do you want to build 30% more wind and solar? Or do you just use 30% less energy, thereby, which is cheaper and faster to implement? And I mean, and less planning as well.
Yeah.
Um, but you're right, there's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. When you obviously we was on this webinar in Africa and you was talking about your products. That is just one product that you have. You've got a suite of products, haven't you, that you've put together?
Yes. Yeah,
Can you go through your process of what you do?
yeah. So the centerpiece is really our platform, which is called Wapsto. It's a web app store. So in there, you can integrate things like the Smart Things or a Tesla or Philips Hue. So you can integrate all kinds of third-party platforms. That's cloud to cloud. But we also have our own hardware products. So the plug I was showing you, so that has easy onboarding. It's using Wi-Fi. It has an electricity meter and a 16 amps relay. So you can really switch things. We sell that to two verticals, basically. For example, to retailers, where we switch off, let's say, a gas station. In a gas station, you maybe have 15 fridges with beverages inside.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you have air conditioning cooling down. So you have like maybe 10 kilowatts making heat inside, and then the air conditioning trying to take that away. They're really badly constructed. You could very easily suck out the hot air from behind and then have a much more efficient way. But that requires a permit, it requires construction. So what we do is we switch them off 8 hours a day. There's like 200 liters inside. So there is a thermal it takes some time because of this thermal mass, right?
Yeah.
Of 200 liters maybe. So, but while we switch them off, the air conditioning doesn't need to cool this. And the fridges actually get de-iced. So they stay having a high efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And you save, of course, these 8 hours a day. So in total, we found that we could save almost 50% of the electricity for these beverages. And then what we can do is we can actually switch it off when the electricity price is highest. So we can make it depending on that because, the temperature doesn't go up and down that quickly in these fridges. So all of a sudden, this is the return on investment is between 6 and 9 months for that. Another product we have is you have a lot of legacy devices, inverters, heat pumps, EV chargers. They use a bus called Modbus. It's a stupid, more than 40-year-old serial bus. But we made a device where you, within 2 hours, you can onboard almost any Modbus device. We just need to take the register map. You tell us which one you want. So we tell our gateway, these are the bits and bytes registers, and please translate them into something humans can better understand. For example, kilowatt hours or voltage or wattage or whatever. So, and then the gateway does that and can, even when the internet is gone, it can even log the registers you want logged for about a couple of thousand measurements. So those are two of the main products. And of course, we have a display. So the gas stations, we sell a display. On that display, you can see your real-time consumption. We also have one in our entrance here in the office, because you achieve multiple things with this, with the display. You show to your customers and to your employees that electricity consumption is important, but you also give them a tool to now check what happens when I switch on or off the oven, what happens when I switch certain things on or off, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it becomes a sport for the employees to try to lower this number, because leadership has said this is important to us, and they now have the means to see cause and effect.
Yeah. That's very powerful. Visualization of your energy I'm a great believer in data and presenting the data back. When you get half-hourly data, for instance, customers will look at that half-hourly data and not really understand it, but then put that half-hourly data into a graph, then it starts to open up many stories. What's happening there? What's happening here? And giving it real time is even better, isn't it? Because people can then see, oh, what happens if I do that? Turn that off. Mm-hmm. Ding, goes green or whatever. We play the game with them and give them exactly what they want. Yeah, I like that. That is something everyone should be doing. I think all organizations should be embracing, because it's about behavior, isn't it? It's going to change behavior very simply. And yes, there's a cost to implement this, but at the same time, it's a low cost considering the amount of savings that you're going to probably achieve from that.
And it's about risk. You're reducing risk. Yeah. If you have more control, you can have alarms or notifications. Let's say you set a limit. I don't want to use more than 100 pounds an hour for my electricity for a business, right? If you hit this, then it will tell you, hey, you are now hitting this. And then at least you're not maybe paying 500 pounds that hour. Yeah. So it's risk mitigation as well. Having deeper insight, you can reduce the waste, but you can also start using the energy when it's cheaper. Or in some countries, you pay for the maximum ampere which you pull from the grid. For example, in Germany, they take the 3 15-minute intervals with the highest consumption. Yeah. And then you have to pay, your monthly subscription will increase if it's higher. Yeah. So there's an incentive to keep it below, to
keep the maximum demand down.
Yes. So if you can switch like a heat pump off when you maybe hit above your limit, then I mean you can really save thousands of euros or pounds.
And it's quite funny because before your systems and reviewing that data, they know they've actually breached that figure, but they don't know what time they breached it, and they can't really identify. So you're just giving them the story of when that happened, and then they can then backtrack.
Yeah, so we have different visualization in our platform. One thing which is very powerful is the heat map. So, for example, let's take the last 12 weeks and then all the hours of the weekday, right, from Monday to Sunday and from 0 to 2400. You will see how much am I using when the office is open, how much am I using at night.
Yeah.
What you almost always see is you use much less in the weekend than in between the nights, between the weekdays. Why is that? The potential should be the same as in the weekend. So in the weekend, you switch everything off, but you don't in the nights. And this can be, a lot of kilowatt hours you can actually save.
It's good for targeting, and then you can see you need to get that green either side of the working day, don't you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing we have is a duration curve, we call it. It's important because there you can see your peak load. So it's how many hours did I have which consumption? And then you will clearly be able to distinguish different working modes. So you will see, okay, this is, let's say you have 3 shifts or 2 shifts. You can then see, the one shift uses so much, the next shift uses another, and then maybe the third shift is shut off. That's your standby consumption.
Yeah.
So it shows the peak load and the standby consumption and these modes very nicely. But you need to be able to read it. You need to understand it. And unfortunately, there's not enough people who are educated in this field. So that's why we also, the plug, we also sell to schools. So
Right.
we
To
have
educate.
to educate from small children, where they do an energy treasure hunt. So is my hairdryer, is that yellow or red? What about the TV? Oh, that's probably yellow. And my phone charger, that's probably green, right? So they learn, oh, so it turns color based on the wattage of the device which is plugged in. But that way they learn that some things use more energy than others. And then the next thing is, we call it the vampire hunt. So we tell them there's mosquitoes, and there is vampire bats, and then there's the true vampires. And this is, of course, about the standby consumption. You're not using it, it's still drawing something. You also have some which are not vampires. They have zero consumption, right? And then in the third step, we tell them, you know what, with this plug, you can kill the vampire or stop it from drawing blood when it's not supposed to. And then instead of calculating kilowatt hours and pounds, we calculate ice cream. So they tell us how much their favorite ice cream is, and then the plug calculates how many ice cream you can buy from the saved amount of energy.
Yeah.
And it's really about educating more people about energy efficiency. And we teach the parents, of course, as well, because the parents, they will see it. They will, oh, and you know this, I couldn't educate you, but a lot of people are not aware of this.
But you'll be very surprised, Daniel. I had something similar to that, where I could just monitor items, and I put it on my TV. My TV never goes off. It's always plugged in. There's no lights to tell me it was in standby. I identified it was in standby, and I was shocked how much blood it was drawing. It was a vampire, basically.
Yes.
I don't watch. I used to boast to everyone, oh, I don't watch much telly, but it didn't matter how much telly I was watching, because it was still drawing the blood.
Yes.
Even so, now it doesn't. I've got smart technology to turn it on and off as and when I want it. And then if I forget to turn it off, it turns it off again at midnight.
Yes.
But you start to learn these things. And as an energy expert, I've learned, and I'm learning every day. You know, I'm learning from, and I like the way you say the vampires, because that's what children, they want to, not that we need to scare
needs
children.
To be games. Yes.
Yeah. Not that we
Make
want to
it
scare
fun.
them. Yes, it is fun. And, you know, and in the ice cream, I think that's something we don't do enough. And with organizations, there's no reward. And I find if you rewarding people, employees, then they start to respond better.
Absolutely.
Because they don't do this at home, do they? They don't leave things on. You know, when you're in your kitchen, you don't put all your gas cookers on and just watch them. Where in your kitchens in the hotels, they run all day.
Yeah, my entertainment station, I had the same experience as you do. I was shocked. It uses about 25 watts in standby. So if you sum that up with the electricity price for a consumer, you end up paying like 75 pounds a year.
Yeah.
And the plug is, we sell it for 45, right? So it's much, much cheaper, and it can detect it and switch it off.
Yeah.
So the return on investment is really fast.
Yeah.
It's below a year, even for a homeowner. But it doesn't make sense if it's a mosquito, it uses so little, it doesn't make sense. You will not have your return on investment.
Yeah.
So,
but because that's mobile, you can just move it from mosquito to.
Exactly. You need to find, that's why we call it's the vampire hunt. So you need to hunt them, right? You need to find out which ones are. And we made it like a card game. So you would draw cards, and then you have to guess, is this a mosquito or is this? And if you guess right, then you get points, and then you kind of win the game, right?
Are you currently doing this just in Europe where you are now, or are you looking to migrate that out further?
Yeah, our main market is Europe. Unfortunately, you have different plugs.
Yeah.
So that would require some remodeling. We do have some initial customers in the US, but that's more about the the meter reading. So with the Modbus device, you have Modbus smart sub meters.
Mm.
And then some of the US states, you need to start monitoring where you use your electricity. Do you use it for ventilation, for your production, or for your light? And you need to classify it. And we then read out these meters, the registers, and then, help them collect the data.
Yeah. And how many organizations are you working with in Central Europe?
Not enough.
Good
It's
answer.
yeah, it could always be more, maybe around 50.
Right. Significant number, though.
Yeah.
That's a good number.
We were before COVID, we were focusing very much on utilities, electricity utilities, and we helped them collect the data real time from the smart meters. And our direct customers were smart meter manufacturers, but then it was the utility which told the smart metering manufacturers use their communication solution, basically, right?
Mm.
Unfortunately, our main market was Germany, and with COVID, Germany stopped the rollout. That hit us hard.
Yeah.
And our main customer was Energy, which got taken over by E.ON. So they had to reevaluate what they want to use. And if you know the market, it's really slow. That's why during start of COVID, we said we need to pivot. We want to have customers where we have direct impact and direct benefit to the energy savings. So, for example, we recently got a good local customer, which is the port of Aalborg. They use like couple of millions kilowatt hours a year, and they need to know where they use it, when they use it, and they need to do billing for their tenants. Yeah. So we collect from some 500 meters, we collect all the data, and then we generate reports for the tenants. We generate reports for the billing, for the economics department, and for the overall system. Because how much are they wasting? Because a port is big, right? So they also have their own infrastructure, and within the infrastructure, you don't always know how much you're wasting, because we are collecting electricity, water, and in Denmark, you have a lot of district heating. So we also collect the heating data from the
and also I know there's new legislation around regarding shipping. When they come into the port, they
have to plug in,
yeah, but I think there's new legislation coming around about they have to have their own systems on board, so they're not taking so much power off the port. So there's batteries are coming into this world even further.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I'm
That's
an expert in that.
No, but we know an expert that can help us, no doubt, with all our networks and things like that. So it's very good. So I'm trying to build, this is what this does. It enables your stories to be shared with others to learn. And, maybe someone may contact us regarding that to open up the knowledge to support us.
Yeah.
It's come to that time. I can't believe how quick this has gone, really. I might have to invite you back for another
sure.
One day and we'll talk more. But it's come to that time where I'd like to ask, is there anything that you can give back to our industry and our experts who are listening to this? Is there anything you can give back as a takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is our shared view that the cheapest and cleanest energy is the one we don't waste.
Yeah.
So it will make everything cheaper. And on the other hand, I think we need to get out of our bubble. I think too many people don't look across the bubble, so they stay inside. But the solutions are never only wind or only batteries or only solar. You need to have a system which interacts together and look at a broader solution where you collaborate with more people, because the solution is in a network effect. that
Yeah.
that you make things work together. That is my advice, I would say. And then when you look at the stability, right, the market will take us probably 99.9% of the way because we have very stable grids.
Mm-hmm.
Market should decide, do I want to pay more or less? But it needs to be fair as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And then for the emergency shut off, the remaining 1 per mil, there, I think a top-down system controlling what to shut off, it makes sense. Unfortunately, many politicians, they have that on the head. They think the emergency shut off is what we need first, and they neglect the market mechanisms to actually, And
Typical
I mean,
politicians, that is. Always
I'm
thinking
so
about the
sad.
emergency, the knee-jerk approach to what we need to be doing. Instead of being knee-jerk approach and reactive, let's be proactive in what we're doing. That's important.
And I'm so sad you left the European Union because I think it was a loss for both sides. Because I mean, together it was much, much stronger than each alone. So that's a pity.
I agree, but that shouldn't be a limitation, should it? Because we're talking today, and I think that's important. I want to pick up on a couple of points there you said. So first of all, you said about we all agree about the energy that we don't use is the best energy. I'm amazed about, so we mentioned COVID earlier. When we went into COVID, I started talking to people around the world, and I was shocked. We all spoke different languages and we were all speaking this same language. And that was really refreshing because we all had the same issues, the same challenges, but we're all trying to drive that energy consumption figure down. And that was really refreshing. That's really inspired me to talk to other experts and share that around. And then you also touched on the other thing that I'm very passionate about, collaboration. You know, when I sat and listened to your presentation, I thought, I'd love to interview him and have him on and talking about all the same things and us sharing some content. I think collaborating around the world is very important. Calibrating is also important because we need to calibrate it all in line. I always get them two words in and mixed up together. So I think that's very key. And there's some things I'm going to talk to you later about the networking we're doing, B2B Energy. We have regular meetings and I'm bringing all that. You know, there's not many of us out there working together, but there should be more, you know.
Yes.
The amount of experts that I keep stumbling upon, there's hundreds and thousands of out there. And I've done the sums for us all to be together. We need about 250,000 people all talking in the same circle. How amazing would that be?
Wow. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Think of all that knowledge and all that. Unfortunately, think of all that carbon dioxide floating around. We need to reduce that. I really appreciate today some of the new stuff you brought to us today regarding carbon dioxide. And I'm going to go and research that. And they always say every day is a school day. And thank you for that. And can you tell us the name of that book again and maybe show it? Because I want people to see that.
I don't know. Is it readable or is it?
Yes, perfect. I'll get a screenshot of that later and I'll post that.
Atmosphere, CO2 on my mind, how climate change affects your body. So
perfect. Have you written any other books?
No, I was co-author about a book for smart homes, but that's written in German. So I don't think it was translated. I only wrote the energy efficiency or the EMS chapter about that, and about the future of smart homes, where I think they might be going. So
Daniel, you started this conversation today. You're honored to be on our podcast.
Yeah,
I'm going to take that back because I'm going to say we are honored that you've been on this podcast today because you've shared some amazing stuff there, and I really appreciate that today. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Brilliant. So thank you.
Thank you. And please, Daniel, you and your family stay safe in these times.
Yes, and same to you. It's uncertain times indeed.
Indeed.